Hello, everyone. We're back with another stream. Of course, we're talking about Clare Waight Keller at Uniqlo, which would be very interesting, actually. Um, I've seen a lot of negative reactions to the news. I've also seen a lot of positive reactions, but I think that when it comes to Clare Waight Keller at Uniqlo, there's a lot to discuss. And she did a very, very good article, which I want to look into. Um, and read to you guys and kind of go through. Venus says 1 a.m. in South Africa. Luckily, I have my computer open, but Io has an agenda. No ways. The only reason why I'm streaming so late, to be honest, is because I slept late, so my sleeping pattern is kind of out of whack. So yeah, it just ended up streaming late. It's nothing too serious. Queen has some opinions. Queen says, I regret Claire's exit from Givenchy. She was totally on the same vibe with this house and created one of the best ready-to-wear and haute couture collections there. I totally agree with that. Queen says, decision to go to a mass market brand is such a mistake, in my opinion. I guess that's what we will be discussing in this live stream. To see what exactly people think of that. I mean, she can do a JW Anderson and still go to a huge brand. Exactly. Exactly. Is this a lie for the Americans because of the time? Not necessarily for the Americans. It's when I can stream because my sleeping pattern is weird. I didn't make this stream with the express intention of it only being for uh the Americans. That wasn't necessarily like my intention necessarily. um but anyway, it'll be good to talk about like Clare Waight Keller and just touch on her background slightly because I posted a community post on YouTube. I don't know how many of you saw that, asking what your thoughts are on Clare Waight Keller joining Uniqlo. And quite a few people actually said that they don't know who Clare Waight Keller is. So just for those people, we'll kind of like talk about Clare Waight Keller, and then we'll go into Uniqlo, why it might make sense, why it might not make sense, and all of the above. Luke says he appreciates Clare Waight Keller. Finally, someone that Luke appreciates. It's a miracle. It's an absolute miracle, guys. But anyway, right now you're looking at the Givenchy Spring Summer 2020 Haute Couture show, which of course was designed by I was saying that right now you're looking at the Spring Summer 20 Haute Couture show at Givenchy, which was of course designed by Clare Waight Keller. So for people that don't know who Clare Waight Keller is really, really a mainstay in the fashion industry. She's been in fashion for a really long time. She's an iconic British fashion designer that has most famously been at the helm of both Chloe and more recently Givenchy. I actually talked about Clare Waight Keller not too long ago because I was talking about Chimena Kamali, who's now the current creative director of Chloe, in the stream 2 days ago. And we were talking about how one of her stints working at Chloe was actually under Clare Waight Keller. One of them was under Phoebe Philo, but the other one was under Clare Waight Keller. So we even mentioned her back then. And she was very successful at Chloe. I think that when it comes to Givenchy, all the critics and everyone into fashion will tell you that Clare Waight Keller is an amazing designer, which I totally agree with, and will tell you that Clare Waight Keller's clothing resonates with people. Like fashion people love her clothes. They appreciate her clothes. They appreciate her, as a really good designer. Also, Luke is saying she designed Meghan Markle's wedding dress. She totally did. She dressed quite a few celebrities also during her time at Givenchy. So it was a good tenure, but really the biggest issue with it was the sales started to slow down at Givenchy, which is why they ultimately decided to go in a different direction. But when it comes to design, I don't think there's any question that Clare Waight Keller is a really great designer. And that was kind of where a lot of the negative thoughts, in my opinion, were coming from, where people were saying that someone of Clare Waight Keller's ilk, people would not expect her to be the creative director of Uniqlo, because of course Uniqlo is a fast fashion brand, even though I do put Uniqlo on a tier above a lot of other fast fashion brands, because Uniqlo is a brand that has more timeless styles, they have timeless designs, and so therefore there's less waste, because they're not like a Boohoo or a Shein who will follow the trends, and the second that, you know, those trends are no longer a thing, they destroy all the clothes and move on to the next trend, and there's so much waste and all that sort of stuff. Uniqlo doesn't do that, but it's still a fast fashion brand. So that was a conversation that I saw people having online. But yeah, Clare Waight Keller is a legend in fashion. I don't think people actually know this, but Clare Waight Keller was also the first female creative director at Givenchy, which has to be mentioned because Givenchy is a brand that has had so many iconic fashion designers. Off the top of my head, I'm thinking of, you know, the likes of Alexander McQueen, John Galliano, Julian MacDonald, Oswald Boateng, Riccardo Tisci. These are all people that have all had iconic times at Givenchy. And then, of course, Clare Waight Keller is added to the list. So, yeah, when it comes to discussing Clare Waight Keller and Uniqlo and kind of where she fits in it, this is actually not her first rodeo with the brand. She's actually designed a collection before for Uniqlo, and she's actually been designing stuff with Uniqlo for a while. And this also isn't new in terms of, you know, high fashion designers working with Uniqlo. This is not something that we haven't seen before. I mean, we're very familiar with things like J Plus, which is when Jill Sander designs her collaborations with Uniqlo. We've seen many collaborations, not only with Jill Sander, but also with J.W. Anderson at the brand. We've seen them collaborate, you know, with the likes of brands like Marni. We've seen them collaborate with Le Mer. And Christophe Lemaire is actually the creative director of Uniqlo U, which is also a big thing in fashion. Like Uniqlo U is kind of like Uniqlo, but, you know, kind of elevated in a way. And Christophe Lemaire is actually the creative director of that. So there's always been this merging of Uniqlo. Yeah, people are saying Undercover. That's true. Undercover have. But there's always been this merging of high fashion designers and Uniqlo. So Clare Waight Keller being there is nothing new. And actually, I'm not sure how many of you are aware, but Clare Waight Keller also had a collection called Uniqlo C, which she's continuing to design, as well as being, now that she's the creative director of Uniqlo, she's actually going to oversee the general silhouettes and outlook of all the permanent collection stuff and all the normal Uniqlo pieces. And she's also looking to, you know, elevate those pieces. So what I actually have on the screen is from her first collection at Uniqlo. So it says, introducing Uniqlo C, a new collection by Clare Waight Keller. The Autumn-Winter 2023 collection arrives in stores and online on September 15th. But what can you expect from this collection? So they talk about, you know, how C is the Clare Waight Keller collection. This is her first collection with Uniqlo. This was actually unveiled in August 2023, so last year, and it released in September last year. So this is essentially what the collection looked like. Very classic, nice silhouettes, but very classic and very wearable, and, you know, simple to wear, but not the usual stuff that you see with Uniqlo, especially with some of the fabrics. They had some elevated fabrics. People are saying that Meghan Markle's dress didn't fit. That's a conversation for another day, guys. That's a conversation for another day. But yeah, so like I said earlier, in August 2023, she announced this Uniqlo C line. It was actually a 34-piece collection, if my memory serves me well. And it was really big. Like, so many people were wearing it. I remember at the time last year, so many YouTubers actually made like hauls and, you know, styling videos around the C collection, the same way they would do with Uniqlo U. Every season that Uniqlo U drops, people always do like those style reviews and, you know, things like that. And it's very interesting because kind of exactly what Duke is saying. It feels like Uniqlo C was just like a test to kind of see what she would do at Uniqlo, if there would be buzz around what she does at Uniqlo, and if it works. And obviously, they saw that it worked, and they then decided to hire her as the main creative director, overseeing all of the clothing, not just the Uniqlo C stuff that was her little collection under the brand. Hugob says, whenever I go into the actual shop, I never see anything I like. Uniqlo often gives me frumpy, whereas some of this looks nice. Yes, that's because, you know, a lot of times when you go into the stores, and depending where the store is also, like, you're not really going to see a lot of the collab stuff. You're not going to see like the Uniqlo C stuff. You're not going to see J Plus like when it was there, apart from like on release date because it sells out so fast. Um, so most of the stuff that you see in store isn't really super interesting unless like you're trying to buy basics. I think you have to look online to find more of the interesting stuff, which is sad because obviously you want to try on all the really cool stuff in store, but that just isn't the case. I've never actually been to a Uniqlo store in Japan, so it might be different where in the Uniqlo Japan store, there's more range, especially in the bigger ones. Al says, I also saw that in her Vogue interview, Clare Waight Keller said she wants to lead in growth areas like leather goods and shoes. Yeah, I'm going to look at that Vogue interview in a bit because she talks about really interesting stuff. She even said that denim is going to be a big focus, and she wants to focus on expanding the silhouettes and the range of denim that Uniqlo makes, like especially like just the normal permanent collection, like everyday stuff. Um, so yeah. Someone is saying 3 stores had the JW Anderson collab items in store. When I say they're not there, because someone was saying that they don't find stuff they like they don't have a full range of stuff. So they might have a few like collab stuff on Uniqlo U, but there isn't the same range as online. So that being said, if you're trying to find more interesting stuff, you kind of have to look online, unless you're going to like one of the bigger stores, which I personally haven't been to. I don't know how the big stores look, especially in Japan. If you've been to Japan or you're from Japan and you've been to the Uniqlo store, I'd love to know how the big stores look, like if they have the exact full range. Because yeah, it's not every location that stocks all the lines. That's why also earlier I said it depends what store it is. So it just depends. Rugob says we'd love to see what Solange could do. Didn't have her down as a fashion girl. But anyway, moving on. Something that I think is a positive with this Uniqlo Uniqlo C situation, just Clare Waight Keller being the creative director, because I know a lot of the response I would say has been negative. But it's kind of positive. I think it's kind of a compliment to Clare Waight Keller that people are saying essentially that she's so good of a designer. Why is she at a fast fashion brand as a like full-on creative director? Which is very different to what other designers do, where they just collab. Of course, like I said earlier, Christophe Lemaire is actually the creative director of Uniqlo U. But being the overseeing creative director, people have had questions about that. And I do think it's a compliment to say, you know, we think that she's a designer that should be at a bigger brand or a more luxe brand. So that's definitely a good thing. But what I personally think about that is I know a lot of women that are fans of Clare Waight Keller's work. I know a lot of women that love what she does. They loved what she did at Chloe. They loved what she did at Givenchy, but they couldn't afford any of it. And so for people like that, it kind of introduces a way of, you know, kind of having access to Clare Waight Keller's work and Clare Waight Keller's designs for people that, you know, the normal people, the normal amongst us who don't have millions to just spend, and, you know, the normal people amongst us who don't have just endless bank accounts to just buy Givenchy pieces every season and stuff like that. And I also think that she's going to have a different kind of impact at Uniqlo. You need to remember that because the price point of Uniqlo is very accessible. So in general, even people that don't know who Clare Waight Keller is will kind of find out who she is eventually. Also, people who, would never have access to all these like expensive luxury clothes can actually refine their wardrobes, because Clare Waight Keller has said in her interview that she's really looking to refine the styles and the clothing at Uniqlo. So I think there's positives to be seen in her being the creative director of Uniqlo. I think a lot of the response has just been completely negative, as if there is no positive outlook to Clare Waight Keller being at the brand. But what I want to really talk about now is this Vogue article, because shout out to Nicole Phelps. Nicole Phelps has been doing some sensational interviews at Vogue recently with a lot of the news stories we're seeing. But this article is really cool because in this article, Clare Waight Keller actually talks about her own plan for Uniqlo going forward, and obviously talking about like the mainline Uniqlo, not just like Uniqlo C, which is her sub sort of label ish with the brand. So I'm going to skip to where she actually says what her plan is, because I remember it was somewhere in the middle. So yeah, here it says, among the developments that will register, she explains, are updates to the overall color palette. On the women's side, look for more femininity, more print, and more exploration in terms of pattern and cut, and younger trending silhouettes. Uniqlo appeals to such a big audience, she says, but a big chunk that they really capture is that younger age bracket. It's a fast moving market, so there's a lot to learn there. And that was very interesting that, she's actually trying to change the silhouettes, because even in the chat, I've seen a lot of people saying that Uniqlo has kind of been falling off in a way, and I can definitely agree with that. Even someone earlier said Uniqlo U was a lot better when it initially came out. I totally agree with that. I think it was MA that said that. I totally agree with that, because I remember when Uniqlo U started, and I do still think that Uniqlo is better quality than a lot of other fast fashion brands, but when Uniqlo U started, if you compare the quality of Uniqlo U then, and even like the mainline stuff too, because the mainline stuff was pretty good back then, to now, it's definitely a lot worse. So I'm hoping that something that Clare Waight Keller can do is kind of like bring it back a bit and actually like hone into like what people loved about Uniqlo before, and kind of a return to just when they were really like on the money when it came to the clothing, the Uniqlo U stuff, the mainline stuff. Crank says she can phone it in and Uniqlo will be happy. I saw someone also saying that her stuff at Uniqlo is going to sell really well. That I believe so, and I hope so, but you can never really know with these things. You can never ever really actually know. Um, Here in the article, they're talking about the fact that Clare Waight Keller, of course, hails from the salons of Paris, the fact that she was at Givenchy for 3 years and Chloe for 6 years before that. And she's very upfront about the learning curve at Uniqlo. So what she says is, in the fashion industry, especially luxury, it's all about change, change, change. What are the new proportions, the new silhouettes? That's important to keep things moving. But the truth is, it's the timeless pieces that keep people buying in a big, big way. And I totally agree. I mean, at the end of the day, there are some people that buy the crazy avant-garde stuff, and those are the customers with a lot of money when it comes to a lot of luxury brands. But if we're talking about the mass market, the hero pieces that people buy the most, it is the very, very timeless coat, or the timeless pair of shoes, or you know, it's very much the bags, things that you can wear over and over and over again, and you compare with so many different pieces. And that's kind of what I used to know, and still do kind of know Uniqlo to be, and kind of respect Uniqlo to be. It's kind of supposed to be that fast fashion brand that provides that timeless look, whereas a lot of other fast fashion brands are kind of just trying to follow the trends and chase trends. CRB says, I used to work at Uniqlo about 10 years ago. I went into a store a few days ago. The designs have fallen off a cliff. Damn. But that kind of alludes to what I was saying earlier, where I was saying that Things generally are definitely a lot worse than they were, like design-wise, quality-wise. Um, and even though Uniqlo, I said earlier that Uniqlo is better quality than a lot of fast fashion places, that's not a brand shouldn't get an award for that because the quality of fashion across the board is so bad that even I can't recognize the quality of luxury clothing. So imagine the landscape of fast fashion clothing and the quality of it these days. It's completely horrible. But back to the article. In this section, she talked about how one of the first categories that she's going to refine is denim, which I thought was very interesting. And it made me wonder, why denim? Like, what is it about denim that she's so focused on? So to read this part of the article, it says, one of the first categories she's turned her eye to is denim. A new wide leg style has become one of the globally top selling styles since launching. In menswear, you can expect softer tailored jackets and more interesting oversized shapes. Then, as September edges into October, her new puff textiles will start filtering into stores. And she says it's not just the palette that will be new, but also proportions and the way that they are styled. And I think this is kind of where Uniqlo kind of really needed Clare Waight Keller because, as we've been alluding to since, it seems like their designs have fallen off the cliff and they need someone really to refine things. And who better than a very, very highly accomplished designer who is known for designing really good haute couture collections at Givenchy, really refining the clothing. I don't know if they could have gotten or dreamed of getting anyone better in the same role, to be honest. But yeah, now they have obviously some pictures from the lookbook of the collection. You can actually have a look on the Uniqlo website to see what the pieces actually look like. You can have a deep dive. Of course, the women's wear is way better than the men's wear, as always. So annoying. So annoying. The men's wear is so. You have like the sweat pullover hoodies, the joggers in a wide leg sort of thing in different colors, a shoulder bag, the shirt. I find this stuff outside of like the wool blend coat, which I want to actually see what the blend is. Do they have any? Hmm. It's a wool blend. It's 33% wool. The shell is 50% polyester. The sleeve lining is 100% polyester. Pocket lining is 100% polyester. Hmm. Hmm. I mean, aesthetically, I do like it, but considering this is the C collection with Uniqlo, the new one, the fabric should be a lot better, in my personal opinion. The fabric should definitely be a lot better. So that's like a big miss there. The shirt is completely uninteresting. Like, there's nothing about the silhouette that's interesting. Like, the only thing I can see really is that the sleeves are wider, and then here you can see where the shoulder seam is. So it's kind of like a drop shoulder, kind of like Korean style. A lot of Korean designers design shirts in that way. Um, but it kind of still looks like a standard Uniqlo shirt. Maybe play with the collar, make the collar thicker. Um, that's the kind of refinement I want to see from her at Uniqlo. But yes, when definitely the fabrics, definitely not good enough. Definitely not good enough when it comes to the fabrics. This coat, I like the shape of it, but let's have a look at the fabrics. Um, the filling, 100% polyester. That's neither here nor there. Lining, 100% polyester. Um, hmm, interesting. I mean, depending on how they do the polyester, because it depends on the piece. Obviously, with the wool coat, I don't want to see that much polyester. It doesn't make sense. If you're making a rain jacket, which is what this jacket is, like a hooded coat, it makes sense why you would have a lot of polyester. That's not really that bad of a thing. It's kind of like done for it to be breathable and done for it to be waterproof and like water wicking. Um, so I'm not too mad at that. But with the wool blend coat, that those fabrics were like, hell no. I just want to see like on some of the knitwear what the fabrics are, just out of curiosity. 5% wool. Oh hell no. Hell no. 5% wool. Absolutely not. They've got some Chelsea boots, a knit jacket. Um, and it's really cool because, of course, in the Vogue article, they were talking about the fact that a lot of the designer collaborations, they make them more luxe and they refine the silhouettes, which is true. And I have seen a lot of, these collections in the past where they're using like cashmere and stuff, but that's not the case with this, though. That's not the case with this collection. Now, the women's side, there's, in my opinion, there's a lot of interesting stuff, first of all. The fabrics are probably not fantastic, but just looking at things aesthetically, like the merino blend ribbed skirt, I think this is really cool. I really like this. Um, let me see if the other pieces that I really liked. Um, the boots I actually really like, actually. These stretch boots, they're really cool. They remind me of like Chloe, like seasons ago, like Chloe boots that were made at Chloe. I wonder if she's actually referenced that. This is the puffer tech that they're talking about, the quilted puffer tech. Also, Clare Waight Keller saying in the interview that she's definitely going to be focusing on styling is a very interesting thing because it's made me really look at how they're styling things and really trying to consider if that's significantly different to how Uniqlo looked before. These wide pleated trousers are really cool. I don't know why they didn't give those to men. This half coat also I really like. Really, really like this. The Netro Man says, I bought 200% cotton Oxfords from them a couple months ago and I love them, so I'm confused here. Acrylic in almost anything is a non-starter for me. It's there because it feels super soft in store, but once you wash it once, it's garbage. I know, right? Which is why, yeah, which is why for the most part, the fabrics that they're using, especially because once again, this is not mainline Uniqlo. This is still Uniqlo C. This is just the new season that was unveiled. That's going to be available in September. I expect more, to be honest. I definitely expect more. But these are also cool. I do like these clogs. If I got them, obviously I'm not going to get them because I don't wear women's wear sizes. But if I got them, I'd get them in the brown colorway. I really like that brown, how that looks, how that sits. Even in the lookbook, the brown looks really, really nice. And then the down short jacket, printed flared dress, relaxed V-neck jump. I don't want to like beat a dead horse, but let's just have a look at the fabrics. Okay, finally. So this is 100% cashmere. So this piece is 100% cashmere. Because it's a cashmere V-neck jumper, but I'm glad it's not a blend. So at least, okay, that's one thing. Let's see, polo jumper. When something isn't branded as cashmere, it's about to be something crazy. 45% polyamide, recycled fiber, 30% cotton, 25% wool. Hmm. And they're telling you to dry clean and hand wash. Isn't it funny when not saying that Uniqlo is doing this, it's just a thought that came to my mind. It's really funny when fast fashion brands make clothing that is hard to wash and in the care tags they tell you to like only take it to the dry cleaner and only clean it certain ways and you're thinking But the time you've taken it to the dry cleaner like a couple times, now that costs more than the piece itself. So why would anyone do that? And that just promotes waste because people would instead just buy a new one when that goes bad and throw the old one away rather than, you know, keep taking it to the dry cleaner. It's so strange when cheap clothes have very difficult ways of washing them. It doesn't actually make any sense. It really doesn't make any sense. Okay, let's see. Easy wide trousers, pleated wide trousers. They've got a nice trench coat. This flared dress is really, really nice. I love this. The neckline. So this is something I hate in clothing, right? Even though I do love the shape of the dress, I absolutely cannot stand this fabric. I don't know what fabric it is or what blend it is, but I've had clothing that use this fabric in the past where this thing over time, as you like wear it and you wash it, it kind of starts to get a bit weak. Like the fibers get weak and then they just start rolling unprovoked. And you have to like start adjusting it every 5 seconds and like rolling it up. That thing is the most annoying thing ever. It's so annoying. It's so damn annoying. And it's a shame that they use that fabric because I know that's going to happen on this piece. But because it looks exactly like that fabric. I would have hoped that the neckline would be more structured because you can even see, like, even when they've even in the lookbook here, you can see that there's already potential for that to happen. Like you can already see it. So I like the idea of the dress. Fabric though, hell no. I wouldn't buy that even though I love that dress because of the fabric. That would really annoy me. It's so annoying. You start looking like a problematic and uncomposed mess with that neckline. I love an instructed turtleneck. Observing the Matrix says, I actually think the opposite. Cheaper clothes need more care than hearty natural fabrics often. So if I buy a $50 Zara shirt, it's worth dry cleaning 4 to 5 times for $10. You get more wear, in my humble opinion. So that's how it is. Like that's in terms of like cheaper clothes need more care to stay good. But I just don't think that's the way it should be. I think that if you're going to make cheap clothes, you have to consider like if it's also cheap to wash because most times the people that are going to buy clothing that is very very cheap, maybe they can't afford more expensive clothing. So what makes them think that they're going to be able to afford to go to the dry cleaner all the time? Like people can't afford to go to the dry cleaner, you know. When I was young, going to the dry cleaner was for rich people. The dry cleaner? What? It's only now that I'm an adult that from time to time, like I go to the dry cleaner weekly to clean certain things. But the dry cleaner is actually a luxury. Like when I was younger, the even the concept of going to the dry cleaner was crazy. Like, no way. That stuff was way too expensive. Joe says, I just don't understand why use these cheap wool blends when I'm pretty sure a few years ago I could buy a 100% merino sweater from the main line for like $60. Yeah, that's 100% true. 100%. Observing the Matrix says they can go to the dry cleaner, they just waste their money on Starbucks instead. Not that you're not poor, you just spend all your money on Starbucks. Do you, do you know I'm laughing? Because Starbucks is always that place that people use when like I remember watching a video on YouTube the other day. This is totally unrelated, but it was essentially talking to old people about giving young people advice on how to like succeed financially, and how can young people afford property. And a lot of the older people said like the young kids these days, they're just like all they do is spend all their money on Starbucks. If they save that, they'll be able to buy a property. And in my head I was thinking there is no amount of Starbucks saving that is going to allow you to buy the average house in London. Like the average, I'm actually checking now, the average London house price is £523,000. There is no amount of saving Starbucks that is going to allow you to buy a £523,000 house. So it's just funny when people say Starbucks because it's always like the scapegoat for young people. This is a really nice trench coat, by the way. And I love the way the collar looks when it's up. It's very different to like a lot of other trench coats I see. Um, that's cool. That's a cool trench coat. Also in some nice colors too. Black, olive, tan. But yeah, that's essentially the collection and the situation with Clare White Keller at Uniqlo. What do you guys what do you guys think about the collection as a whole? And what are your general thoughts on Clare White Keller at Uniqlo? I'm very curious to see what you guys think. If you didn't subscribe to Netflix, you could dry clean your clothes and be presentable for that $1 million meeting. Lanfari, this is a good take also. They put dry clean only on the tag so they are not liable. That's actually very believable. That's a good take. Fernando says the pieces look nice. I just hope she brings tailoring to the brand. I've always admired her work from Givenchy. If I was in charge of this collection, I would use really good fabrics. Yeah, I'm with you there. Dry cleaners should also provide laundry service at American establishments. Perhaps I'd rather have them do it, no time or energy. So Lamfari says should double the prices and improve quality. Yeah, I guess you're talking about like Uniqlo C, which is Clare White Keller's sub brand, but they can't double the prices of the main line, which she's also overseeing as the creative director of Uniqlo, of course. But yeah, with the Uniqlo C, I think that would work. If she doubled the prices, because actually I think the prices are quite surprisingly low. I thought there'll be more than that. Like cashmere blend high neck t-shirt for €25, although I've already spoken about the roly fabric. The roly fabric that gets on my nerves. I'd rather they, increase the price if they need to and like really structure, reinforce the collars, have less horrible blends than what they're using right now. That would be good to see. The collection does feel like a market tester for the pair. So certain decisions I can somewhat ignore. As a whole, I like the decision for what we could see for the landscape of fast fashion. I thought designer brands put dry clean only to make the clothes seem more precious. So I know that to be true. Um, Not mentioning any names, but I've literally worked at a brand that did that. That's definitely a true thing. But I never considered what Lamfari said, where Lamfari said that they put dry clean only so they're not liable. That's very true because like you put your clothing in the washing machine and then something bad happens to it, and then the brand can just say, yeah, but it's dry clean only. So like we're not liable for any of that. Damn. Crank says I think she's saving her best designs for when she gets a proper job. Being the creative director at Uniqlo is definitely a proper job. I wonder if they'll keep the Uniqlo C sub brand after this and have more creative stuff. Oh yeah, so they've already said that she's going to run both of them. So of course she's in charge of the main line, but she's going to continue overseeing and designing for Uniqlo C. That's literally what they've already said. I wonder how many divisions are going to be in the brand, the main line, the diffusion line, or a luxury line full of beautiful accessories. That's a good point. I just want to see well-designed, high quality, but affordable price things because that's what Uniqlo U was when it first started. Um, and they've kind of lost their way a bit when it comes to things like that. So I'd like to see a return to that. I think that is where Uniqlo always wins. Well made, timeless, good quality, slightly priced slightly higher than fast fashion, but also still more affordable than other brands that do that, like a Joseph or those kind of brands. It's like Uniqlo is supposed to be like the affordable, slightly worse quality Joseph. If this is already basic Uniqlo C, what will she do at the main brand? Damn. Damn. I think seeing something revolutionary or adventurous would have been somewhat antithetical to the largest segment of Uniqlo's customer base. At the end of the day, she's catering to the average consumer, which is true, which is definitely very true. And financially, Uniqlo is doing really well. I was reading an article by BOF, which I can actually bring on the screen, where they were essentially talking about how much fast retailing has made from Uniqlo recently. Like they've been making an absolute killing. You woman, you is funny. Employment choices alone. Let me just have a look at the general Uniqlo. Let me have a scroll just to see the general landscape of what Uniqlo is right now. Trying to see if there's anything like really interesting. Let's look at the cashmere collection day to day. The cashmere collection is similarly priced to Uniqlo C, which is very interesting. You would expect anything with Clare Waight Keller's name to be a much higher price point, and I don't think customer base wise anyone would have an issue with the price point if it was higher because it is tied to Clare Waight Keller, who people are used to spending Givenchy and Chloe prices to buy her stuff. So that's interesting. The pricing strategy with Uniqlo C. It's kind of odd, actually. The more I think about it, the more the prices don't make sense. But I guess the prices make sense for the quality of the fabrics they're using. Hmm. Interesting. Interesting. I want to look at the coats and see how much their coats normally cost. Like, so their wool blend, like mainline Uniqlo wool blend coat is 110. And the Uniqlo C one wasn't far off that. Like the Uniqlo C, let me see how much their wool blend coat is. Let me go to the menswear one. Yeah, the wool blend coat for Uniqlo C is 129, so just 20 euros more. Wow, that's surprising. That's actually really surprising. Fernando says, I understand where you're coming from, Roadman. However, they need to have accessories that can get attention as well, like statement shoes or even bags to compete with luxury brands but affordable. I mean, I guess so, but obviously Uniqlo isn't competing with luxury brands, but I know what you mean to like build the buzz and build the excitement around the brand. Duke says, I don't know if her name is as strong as JW Anderson or Jill Sander to up the prices. I think it's at least strong enough to have a way higher price than the main line, like at least double, at least. I think her name is strong enough for that, for sure. You should do a menswear luxury full wish list. Would love to know what products and brands you're interested in right now. You know what? That's actually a really good idea. That's a great idea. I'm gonna write that down because I'd love to do that actually. That's a good idea. Um, but yeah, that in a nutshell is the Claire White Keller story at Uniqlo. It'll be good to follow through and kind of see what she does in the future. Um, I'm gonna read some of the comments and then I shall be heading out. It was very fun doing this double header today, looking at Vivienne Westwood Palace And then also looking at Clare Waight Keller for Uniqlo. Observing the Matrix. I just love that name, by the way. Observing the Matrix. I think some brands are bringing down prices this season. I noticed JW Anderson seemed to be priced lower than I remember. I guess a lot of brands have realized that, you know, the pricing, because we were at this point where luxury fashion, the prices were just getting outrageous and everyone was upping the prices. We've seen what happened to Burberry when they tried to do that. It obviously didn't work. And maybe a lot of brands are looking at that. They're seeing that we're still in an economic crisis and really just realizing that actually, you know, maybe we shouldn't be pricing so outrageously. Um, so I think a lot of brands are learning from that. And that's why some prices are starting to come down, which is a really, really good thing. Leah says my wish list items going to be bought before I end the stream. That's low key true. Um, but yeah, thank you so much for watching. I think Clare Waight Keller is going to do an amazing job at Uniqlo. I'm honestly just looking forward to see what she does and how the wider fashion market receives her work. And on that note, thank you very much for watching the stream, and I'll be back with another stream very soon.